Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
Hello, neighbors. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. This is just another day in the neighborhood of Paranoid American. And even if you take the American out of me, I'll always be paranoid. I don't care. And one of the best parts about living in this little Paranoid American neighborhood is meeting lots of new friends. And on the way over here this morning, boys and girls, I met a new friend. His name is Jay DreamerZ. And actually, you might already know him. You already might know Jay DreamerZ because he's big news. He's big time. He's got an awesome, dope channel. And I want to just introduce him and let him introduce himself. So, Jay, let people know where to find you. We'll do plugs up front, and then we'll get into it. Yeah.
Oh, snap. Okay. All right. Thank you. I said I love the intro so much. So I'm Jay DreamerZ. Good to meet everybody. Basically, I'm an author, and I'm publishing a series. Published my first book called Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse. Pretty much all of the Cliff's Notes on all of my research up until the time I wrote the book about the plasma apocalypse. And then right now I'm working on another book, the sequel to that, the second one in the series. And that's going to be all about this hidden island at the North Pole in the middle of the world and how it relates to the Garden of Eden and Hyperborea and stuff. And I've got a sweet website that's super fun that I like working on. It's JayDreamerZ.com. And it's basically like fun visuals and audio for, like interactive stuff for people to have a little teaching, but also have plenty of stuff to look at and to be able to use, their imagination for examples on the screen and stuff. And then I'm a YouTuber too. I'm like a esoteric guide. I don't know what to say. I don't like to say teachers, you know what I mean? Like I'm weird about those kind of words and stuff, but yeah, I've got a YouTube channel where I do various segments like the Plasma Apocalypse and then a Plasma Apocalypse 101, some beginner courses and stuff. I do a sweet one called Omens, which is taking all the news stories of all the weird stuff happening in the world and interpreting it as an omen and putting all of them together collectively to sort of gauge how close that apocalyptic event might be. Truth in Movies, which is very similar to the what do you guys call yours? This Cinema Saturday?
The Conspiracy Cinema Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And Ancient Oblivion, also another little topic that I do, all about hidden history and all the stuff that happened that's back before recorded history and even during recorded history, just alternative versions and explanations as to the anomalies of history, basically. I don't know. There might have more than that. I can't remember though.
what was the name of your book again? The first book?
Oh, the first one's called Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. So the whole series is Ancient Oblivion.
So I just have to ask, man, because you're actually like one of the more positive, easygoing, sort of like, I don't know, enthusiastic people I know. So
Thanks.
like when the book title is like Ancient Apocalypse,
Oh, right.
Oblivion, you know what I mean? It sounds very doom and gloomy, and I never get the doom and gloom vibe from you. So like, how do you avoid specifically the types of stuff that we get interested in and like the conspiracy angle? How do you avoid just turning into like a black pill doomer?
Man, that's a good one. So check this out. One of the things that helped me on my little journey was when probably a couple of years after I started doing YouTube, you know, like I started that to just record my own research for my son and pass it on, like, so I don't have to write it all down, you know, like I want to just have videos saved and he could go watch.
Kids aren't going to read and write in the
Nah,
future.
yeah, they don't know how to do that.
They're just going to watch a TikTok dance and get everything they need from that.
Yeah, there's no emojis to explain this to me. What's going on? But anyway, so like, I don't know, maybe like right when it started to really get popular, I was struggling with like, you know, like there was enough of the population coming towards my channel that I was getting trolls and all kinds of people saying, just spouting off at the side of their mouth, any old weird stuff. And I was taking every single thing personally, dude. Like, you should have seen me on the other side of the computer. I'm just like astonished that someone would even say some stuff that I read, you know, like I'm like that. Wow. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking about their upbringing, their parents and their social norms and the world as a whole. And it was all weighing down on me. And then I heard a lot of them were kind of directed at the question of the apocalypse and why it's so, you know, people were leaving comments like, oh, doom and gloom, this is doom and gloom, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, like if the world's going to come to an end in some way, shape or form, I'd like to be happy when that happens. I don't want to be scared to death and always anxious and, you know, whatever. So I started this own little series of self-talk for myself, dedicated to like positive stuff. Like, hey, let's talk about all this crazy stuff that's happening in the world. But I know it's my own, like, you know, motto or whatever, that there's always good news every single time. There's always a balance to everything. And I was very tempted at that point in time to ignore the good news and to keep on focusing on the bad. And I didn't like that at all. So I did something to like force myself to start speaking positively. And so it was a segment I did called the Sylvan Linings. And the Sylvan Linings, we would talk about, like, you know, it could be, I don't know, it could be something that sounds negative. Like the topic would be worldwide depopulation or whatever. And I'm like,
here's why it's good.
Yeah, let's look at the good side. If let's just say that happened, you know, let's talk about like what are some things that we would experience that would be good about it, or maybe it's just good that we know about these things and other people don't, and we should feel thankful, you know, be filled with thanksgiving that, man, like I'm not like other people and they're not like me, which means I'm unique because they represent, or, you know, like just trying to find all the positive things to be happy about. And I forced myself to do it, dude. Like there's many times I didn't want to, I was in a bad mood or whatever. So I started doing some other stuff. I started making myself laugh live. I'm just like, okay, if you guys want to laugh with me, I don't really want to laugh right now, but I'm just going to do the dumbest forced laugh ever. And we're just all going to just bust up and it's going to sound terrible, but let's do it. And then I did it and everyone in the chat was doing it too. And I came to find that, you know, like it would make me laugh truly because I was so dumb sounding and so ridiculous to just force myself to just sound like the Joker or some maniac or something, you know, that I was making me actually truly smile and laugh and feel better. And then stuff like that just kind of helped me, you know, employing little tools like that helped me to not live in the fear part of it. You know what I mean? Like not to be afraid and to realize that all that fear and stuff just comes from a lack of experience and knowledge. So how do we remedy that? Let's get some experience. Let's study and research. Let's share the knowledge with people. And it's up to each individual, you know, like, and that's the other thing too, is like people planting their flags all over the place. You know what I mean? Like people taking sides and like, this is my truth. And anyone not in this circle, F all of you, you know, like no matter what it is, and it could be the whole truther mentality, or it could be religion, it could be anything. And so I wanted to back away from all that too. Like as my channel is getting popular, people are like, "Oh, bro, you're right about everything." Blah 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 blah. And or I'm like, thank you. I'm not though. Like I'm just sharing my perception of everything.
Damn, he was right about that too. He's so humble. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Anyways, I'm kind of just going on. I totally forgot what you even asked me.
Well, no, I was
being
just
positive
asking about how to avoid the doom and gloom, and a lot of what you were describing sounds to like a million different names for it, but it sounds to me like reframing. Have you ever heard of NLP before? You ever gotten into NLP?
What is
I
it?
talk about it all the time on my channel just because it's one thing in my toolkit. But man, I really think that you in particular would find it really helpful. It's kind of like a salesman-y thing at this point, if you were to look it up. But NLP started in like the 70s or so, and it's kind of a way to like either hypnotize yourself, hypnotize other people. But like an example of reframing that I used to do to myself too, because when I worked at Disney and I'd have to drive in and it would just be in traffic with like idiots for like 2 hours getting in and out of work, and they've never been there before, so they don't know where they're going, and they're excited and they want to stop and take pictures, and I was legitimately getting to a part where I'd get to work and like I'd be white knuckling because I was just so irritated from the stop and the go.
Yeah, right.
And at a certain point, I same kind of like as you, was like, I need to do something about this. I'm gonna try something different. So I started convincing myself when I was driving to work that I was actually on my way to like a family reunion, and that asshole that just cut me off, like that's grandpa, and like the lady that's going too slow in front of me, maybe that's like my aunt so and so. So it's like I wasn't getting mad at them. It would just be like, oh, grandpa, you know what I mean? Like, it's irritating, but I'm not mad about it. It's just like that's how this family is. And I would just tell myself, once I get there, I'll hang out and I'll laugh about how they were driving. And obviously that part wasn't true, but you can put yourself into that mind state, and that's what I would call reframing, where it's like you convince yourself to look at something different, and that you're doing it, but it's such a powerful thing because it changes your mood. And if you change your mood, you change your day.
Yeah, and you conserve your energy for something that you could take all that in reserve and do better on something else.
I got something I need to be mad about later. I'm gonna save all of that and be real mad.
I do that too sometimes. Like I'll pretend that person has like a pregnant wife in the back seat who's about to give birth or something, and I'm like,
there you go.
I'm like, oh man, like
that's why you just cut me off instead of like traffic.
I get it. Or turn it into a game. Like, how many people can I forgive on the way home? like the Pope. Like, let's see if I could beat the Pope's number. What's the Pope's score today?
I love that. There's something like Alan Wattsy about like just turning everything into a game, man. And to me, the powerful part of that is that the people that you're involving in this have no idea. That guy doesn't know that you're reframing and playing this thing. So it really is just for you. So that like there's no putting on an air, there's no being embarrassed about it. It's just like changing your reality I'm not a very woo-woo person, but I really do think that once you get into that area of like, I was angry and my heart, like my blood pressure was up and my heart rate might have been up, and just by saying, the person in front of me has a pregnant wife in the back, if that can change like your actual physiological response to your environment around you, there's drugs that they still don't have that can act that quickly with that much efficiency and that much control. So it's powerful, man.
And it's I learned that also, like, or that type of a thing from this fantasy book series, The Sword of Truth. Are you familiar with that one?
It sounds familiar, but
Terry
not explain
Goodkind. So this author Terry Goodkind wrote The Sword of Truth. It's a whole series, and in every book, it's like one of those thick fantasy books. You know what I mean?
They all are, yeah.
Every single book has the reader learns one of the wizard's rules. I think there's like 12 or 13 or something, right? And the first one, they have like the first book is called The Wizard's First Rule. And in that book series, one of the main characters, he's this truth seeker that doesn't really want to be. He just wants to be live in the cabin in the woods and have his own little life or whatever. But he's thrust into all these situations where he has to, he's a truth seeker, so he has to like be a part of everything or whatever. So later down the line, he gets captured and tortured by these magic chicks. They put like this ring on them that makes them subservient to them or whatever, and they just torture the heck out of him. So the thing that he learns as a wizard during his like I don't even know how months of torture, and they go into great detail, and then they'll heal him up and stuff, and treat him real nice, and they'll torture the heck out of him again. He had to learn
like this is like something Aleister Crowley would be into.
Yeah. So he had to learn to what he called partition his mind, and to like set up a little like room in his mind where while he's being tortured, he would go into that place, and he would basically be meditating and allow his body to go through something, but he's like on vacation in his mind. You know what I mean? So he's just,
dude, you're describing Monarch programming right now.
right.
Dude.
Well, I mean, there's truth to that. Like, I mean, people might use it for nefarious reasons as well, right? To try to like totally like, like turn someone into a killer or some stuff. But we can use that too. An individual can use that for their own benefit, in certain situations, depending on what it is.
So this is I guess related to this. I know I just brought up NLP. So let's just say that like I'll give you another example of an NLP technique, and it's like some people do this naturally and they don't have to know that it has a name, and it's not like NLP invented it. NLP just kind of defined it and said, here's a thing that you can do. But there's something called like anchoring. And like a really good example of anchoring is someone might come up to you and like tap you on the shoulder as they're talking to you, or like when you're in a good mood, they might like touch the side of your arm or something, like, hey, how's it going? It's like a friendly like tap.
Mm-hmm.
And that like kinesthetic feeling, that can almost be like an anchor, so that every time you see that person, they tap you on the arm, it's like, okay, everything's good. So that if they came up one time and didn't do it, it almost feel like something's off, and you might not realize it. Right. You might not be like, oh, every time I see them, they touch me on the arm. That might be totally subconscious, but it like develops this pattern. Another really basic example of an anchor is an olfactory anchor or a scent anchor. And I think that scent links people's memories harder than any other sense that we have. So like someone walks by and it's like your grandma's perfume as you were growing up, or it's like this like candy that you haven't had since you were like 4 or 5, right? But just immediately you're transported right back to that spot. Right. So you can do that yourself the same way that if you've got like frankincense and myrrh, good example. A lot of people would only smell that when they went to church because it was such an exotic fragrance that you'd never smell before. So like now you can just order on Amazon, or you can, like it's not a big deal. But back then, if you only smelt it on very special occasions, it would be like you'd walk into church and your nose would tell you there's something special happening today, even if you had no idea what the hell that was. So that's a very powerful form of anchoring. But you can kind of do like these little anchoring things yourself. So anyways, to get to the point is that let's say that you understand that concept about frankincense, and that when someone walks into like, your church, Jay DreamerZ opens up a church and you burn the frankincense. So when people walk in, they're kind of transported to this like other realm. Do you see that as nefarious? If me burning frankincense puts this person into a more susceptible state or something, does that make it like, oh, you're manipulating that person because you're doing something that has like an effect?
Maybe if you're on the offensive, but if I would say if they're coming to your house, then that's sort of, that's going to be their experience, and they'll have whatever connections if they're coming your way. But if you go out of your way to continuously try to like, tap people, and you're like, your agenda is like, whether you know it or not, your agenda is like, I'm going to hypnotize this person. There's a whole movie that just came out all about this. It's Hypnotic or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It looks good. I haven't seen it.
It's okay. I mean, I'm a snob sometimes
when
it comes to movies.
I mean, I like the concepts. I like the idea. You know what I mean?
I'll say the idea was better than the movie in my opinion, but whatever.
Well, because it shares like all those different truths about people, how we become hypnotized, and we hypnotize ourselves truly by just getting into routine experiences, like passing by the same color sets every day on the road, or like our little habits that we have whenever we're starting the day or ending it or whatever. But like back to the being happy thing, another thing that I really stopped doing, especially whenever like I was researching like the hollow earth and stuff, and I learned like so much. I was kind of tired of it. And then the flat earth people kind of were like, oh, this is crazy too. And I'm like, wow, So I started researching all that. And then that's whenever I had the most trolls, you know, like people so opposed to that idea that and I wanted to look more into it because all these people are so angry about it. I'm like, why would you be angry if it's just there's nothing to it? It's like being angry about a bedtime story or something like, or
Well, so
Santa
I've
Claus.
got a
Or
theory on this. I think I mean, I don't know the ultimate answer, but one of the reasons why people get angry about flat Earth in particular is because the premise of flat Earth is that everything you've ever learned is a lie. And it's not that like just everything from second grade to like seventh grade. It's like literally everything you have ever learned is
right,
a lie. The people that you thought existed never existed. The times that they said that they were alive, maybe that's all out the window. And I think that there's something that's more appealing to like a conspiracy where they slip the falsities in with the truths, but the truth is still there, so it gives you a little bit of basis.
yeah,
But the flat earth thing, it like takes the safety net away, it takes everything away. It's
right,
like you're Neo in the Matrix, and like, you know, there's worms floating around outside and stuff. Like,
yeah.
I think that there's some people that they just can't let themselves
They don't
let
want
go
to.
of every
Yeah,
structure. Yeah, honestly, like I might fall into that category too a little bit, where it's like I can definitely agree that I was taught lies in school and that we never got the whole, you know, story, and that if you just look at any school book every 10 years, they change. So it's like they were wrong at some point, right? Like if you gave the same
yeah,
answer I was taught on a school today, I'd probably fail because like the facts aren't the same. But that
right.
doesn't mean that like to me it doesn't mean every single thing that's ever come out of a teacher's mouth has always been a
No,
lie.
right, totally
Um
not.
but it's easy to see how some people will get either into like everything's a lie. If my
Right.
teacher said it, it
Oh
had
yeah.
to be a lie. The state has never said anything
Right.
true.
See, that's I feel like that goes back to like our upbringing academically. Even academics, they're very empirical. They're like, what is the answer? Mark yes or no on this, or you know what I mean? Like on the test, you have to agree with all of what they're saying, or you'll get a bad grade. You know what I mean? There's no room for not debate. I want to talk about debates too, but there's no room for philosophy when you're in the middle of taking your test. You know what I mean? Or
Well, and even
alternative
worse,
ideas or
now even if
whatever.
you get the right answer, that might not be enough. Now you have to like think the same way and get to the
Yeah.
answer exactly the way that they tell you to get to the answer.
Right, totally. And then so like as a part of that, I had all these people that wanted to like debate me or whatever, you know what I mean? And I used to do that a lot. I used to love it. To me it was like sports, and I like chess and stuff like that. So like I love I'm like, go ahead, make your move. What do you got? And I'm gonna and all this stuff. But then like after so many times arguing and debating with people or even just explaining things, because I used to like just respond to comments that were clearly people that had opposing viewpoints trying to argue or trying to explain why I'm wrong. I should just shut my whole life down and my channel and my website and just turn it all off and just go get a job at, the warehouse or whatever. I don't know.
Are they hiring?
Probably. I feel like everyone is these days. There's like all these signs everywhere. But I just stopped. I just decided to like not debate any longer, and then like early on in the chat, when I started getting certain people in the chat, my heart did not allow me to like block people or whatever from my channel and stuff. Like I felt like that was rude of me, but after a while I started to kick out all the people who were clearly being rude or, stuff like that. And then after a while I learned that there are some people who might not be rude, but their whole purpose is they want to argue. They very much like that. And then I started listening to other people debate and stuff. I'm like, dude, there's never a winner. Ever. There's never a winner. People already side with whatever side matches their personal perspectives. There's never a winner. And then I started thinking about the Bible, how it says love believes all things. And I was like, man, like I don't know. Like how many people are like, man, I know I'm wrong. I know I'm 100% wrong on all of this. And I'm going to purposefully just go lie to everybody and tell them this and that. I'm not saying there aren't people like that, but I think in general, it seems to me that even the people who have weird perspectives and beliefs and ideas and stuff, many of them truly, genuinely, that's where they are. That's where they feel like or whatever. There's no need for me to argue and try to like yank them from that spot on their path to my spot on my path, wherever I am, you know. And if they're too far away, what good is talking? Because, you know, you can't hear me. Like, I can't hear you. You can't hear me. There's too much distance between us. So I started just doing a new concept, which was building bridges. Like, if people are close enough, we can build a bridge to one another. Like, I'm on an island and they're on an island. And I can build a bridge out a bit their way. You know what I mean? Or like come over to their island and like kind of build a bridge in my direction or whatever, using things that they already agree with or are familiar with, so that they can see how I made the connection. Not so that they can make the connection themselves, but just how they could put themselves in my shoes for a moment and go, I see where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Not that I'm trying to like convince them of anything or make them see it my way. I just want them to see the picture I took, you know?
This is like how the Roman Catholic Church assimilated all the pagans, right? It was like, instead of fighting or saying you're wrong, we're just like, hey, your God, our God. They're kind of like, you know, they'd be homies, they could hang out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you guys have a holiday right around the same exact time, you know? Let's just make it a week.
Yeah,
Let's
dude.
just
Who's up for a 4-day weekend, right?
Right.
Did you ever debate academically, or was this something that you started doing like once you had a channel and some thoughts on stuff?
Way before that. It was mostly whenever I was, I mean, like it kind of started when I was in academics, and I was interested in Jeopardy and stuff. To me, Jeopardy was sort of like debates. I like to watch the presidential debates anytime people are doing all that kind of stuff. When I was a kid, I hate that now, but when I got into Christianity the most is probably when I really was interested in like debating people, because I realized I was soaking it all in, all the stuff that I was being taught up on the pulpit or whatever. I was soaking it all in. I thought I was learning so much, and like I'm like, man, I'm skyrocketing. All these people over here, they think this and they think that, you know. And then on top of that, they're telling me to go out and to like convert and make connections and go preach the news and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, oh man, I'm going to get all of them, you know? And there was people that had alternative ideas and perspectives on things and stuff. So that was, and then like, whenever I would go to like different Bible studies and stuff, like some people would teach things that I'm just like, I can't believe you just told everyone that. Like, you know, like it's, to me, I would hear somebody say something that is like either not likely or totally their perspective on it. And it seems like there might be other ones, you know? So I would raise my hand and I'd be like, hey, but you know, like, for example, I went to one where it was all, I think it was a Protestant Bible study, right? And at the time I was studying Messianic Judaism. And so I was more in that mindset. And so the Protestant Bible study, this guy was like, yeah, so open up to the New Testament in the book of Acts or whatever it was. And as you can see, they were establishing all of these churches, you know, the Christian church was alive, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, weren't all those people Jewish though? Like, wouldn't those be, Jewish people don't have churches. They have, what are they called? Synagogues, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, wouldn't those be synagogues and Jewish people who are still obeying the Jewish laws and stuff? It's just that
like a tabernacle or something.
Yeah. And then, oh my, like I was almost beat up, or, you know, people were becoming aggressive. Like they wanted to fight, like, because I said that. And that just blew my mind. I was like, wow.
Well, when you said I got into debating, like once I started getting in the religion, it's like, whoa, man, that's like, yeah, I just started getting in the fire right when I started working at the fireworks factory. It was kind of
yeah.
Like and it's interesting to me because I was in academic debate too, but I guess I realized early on that I'm not good at debating something I actually believe in, because I do get like, I feel like I need to get Jay on my side on this because I feel like I'm so right.
Right.
And one of my like I do sometimes feel like there's an objective truth and an objective like correctness to something, and not everything is subjective and up in the air. So it's like, I need to get Jay on my side, otherwise there's something wrong with me. And I realized it was just very stressful. But the most fun that I ever had debating, when I found that it was the most sort of like an interesting dynamic, was then you're assigned to debate a side you don't agree in. Like I forgot, one was just like I had to make a debate on like why Antarctica or the Arctic Circle should be free for anyone to use and not kind of be locked down by, Russia. I mean, it was the most boring topic. And I was like, I don't have a strong opinion on this, but because I didn't have the opinion, then it was like more fun because I could pick apart when someone was making their argument.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting all like upset emotionally, like, how could you think that? It was just like, oh, wait, you said this thing that's objectively not true. Let me pick at that. And it's almost like jujitsu, right? It's like, I'm the second you get angry at your opponent, you're probably losing a little bit because you're not making the best decisions. So like you're in debate and you're like, I don't care what you're saying. I'm listening to the logic that you're saying. And then like, oh, there's my in. I'm going to like stick a little judo chop here and then open it up. And now you're on the ground. And that part gets fun. But yeah, when it's like a thing that I actually care about or have a side on, it's not as fun for me. So when religion comes up too, man, I mean, do you have the same, opinions on religion today that you did a week ago or a month ago or a year ago?
No.
So it's like a really hard. Where are you at today? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like between when you were JayDreamerZ going into Protestant and like, talking about
books a long time ago. Yeah.
Where are you at now?
These days, I'm a bit of a wanderer. I'm not sure how to describe it. I don't associate myself that I belong to any religion at all. And I'm spiritual. I mean, just in short, like I'm energetic. Like I resonate with like the law of one and more like ancient sort of belief systems and stuff. I try not to get too like hippie mentality and too carefree and too whatever. I like to like try to be neutral and balanced and grounded sometimes, allowing myself to kind of be ungrounded at other times. And considering all things and adding it all together, like just like everything I see is like a book, and I'm going to like take that book symbolically, right? Take that book, highlight the things that resonate with me, and then stick it on the shelf, because there might be other times I'm like, oh, this just happened. Wait a minute, what about that book? And then I'm like, oh, now this also resonates with me and this does not, and it's just constant growth and like self-diagnostic. But I mean, I believe in the concept of what people refer to as God. I feel like my definition, is way different than most people I've ever met, because I feel like they don't even have a definition. They just have a vague general, something that fits them usually, like or whatever.
Well, one of my favorite questions when I guess when it gets into like the religious stuff, I agree with you. It's like hard to put something in a box. And even if someone says, yeah, I'm a Christian, or yeah, I believe in the Bible, it doesn't mean a whole lot because it's such a dense concept. So I'll start from like what the rules are of your universe. So like, a good one for me is, do you think that let's say that there's a God, just for, the sake of argument, this like non-speakable entity, ineffable thing that's God. If that's electrons like or energy or whatever.
Okay.
Let's say there is a God for sake of convenience. Do you think that God has the potential to create a rule that could be broken?
Damn. Let's see. I would say yes. And I'll explain it.
So basically, free will, I'm getting free will vibes.
That God, right, one course of action could be that God could create the concept of rules, which are illusionary, in comparison to the God being itself, basically. So in that manner, then yes, it would create illusionary rules that have a perception of being broken or whatever. But and it's like that same God character is allowing the people to sort of seem to break the rules, because there really wouldn't be any rules, I guess, except for ones that were illusionary to that God. If that God is omnipresent and omnipotent and all those things and like everything, then I guess I suppose there couldn't be anything outside of it. Or yeah, maybe not outside of it. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this.
It's not that deep. I got it from a rap song, so it's not like it's this big perplexing
okay.
thing, but
It's a
it
pretty
was
deep
from
rap song.
it was a deep rap. It was from Sticky Fingers of Onyx, believe it or not.
Nice.
But yeah, he's got a song called "Who Is God," and that's one of the questions, and it's blown my mind ever since I heard it for the
I
first
love it.
time, like
Yeah.
16 or 17. And it's God. He's like saying, you know, why God, why everything I love always seems to die, and it's like this whole like, poor me, why are you doing this to me? I'm a human. And then God just comes out of the sky and he's like, you're kind of silly if you think that I could create rules that you could break. Like, you must think that you're pretty hot shit.
Yeah, exactly.
To think that you could just like break my rules. And
okay, I like that.
And that one was more of like, I guess at the time I interpret that to be like physics or something. Like, you can't break gravity. That's the thing. But maybe that, because when you get into like that really hardcore Christian spiritualism, it's like those laws can be broken if you're like God or something. But so I'm curious on that same line, when it comes to like morality, do you think that there's something that JayDreamerZ could do that would like offend God? Or whatever you consider God to be?
Not mine, no. I don't.
So you don't think he's up there with like a naughty list like Santa?
No, not so much.
What about karma? Do you think that like when you're a dick to someone, like you cut someone off in traffic, like it's a take a penny, leave a penny, like someone like takes a penny out of your tray?
I could see that. I
really?
could see that. I think everything's connected. So anything that happens over here adversely has effect on everything else as they're all bumping into each other and moving about and stuff like that. So I could see things like but even those would be within God itself or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's all part of the game, like code working on a DVD or a movie on a DVD. Remember those? Anyways, like the codes on the DVD or whatever. So like
like the encryption code so that you couldn't copy it, you mean?
No. I mean like the movie itself. Like if you're watching a movie, right? If you're watching it on the screen, it looks like it's playing out linearly, right? However, it's all there all at one time on the DVD itself. You know what I mean? So like that's sort of an example of like all the things that seem to happen or have adverse effects on one another, they do, but now you take all of that and you like squish it out 2-dimensionally, you know what I mean? And stick it into the DVD player.
Do you think that there's the concept of like objective good or objective evil?
Like it's good or evil to a individual?
Like objectively in that like outside of your personal perspective and your biases and your morality, do you think that, you know, like someone punching another, the dumbest example, someone punching another one in the face, is that just like happening out of pure evil, or can things happen out of pure evil, or is everything just
so on the deepest level or the highest level of thought, right?
2 words or less
for me. Okay, damn.
No, I'm just kidding.
I look at it like a battery. Like I look at it like positive and negative energetic forces, and occasionally what appears to be neutral, but there's this positive and negative everywhere, and they're both useful, you know. I mean, I totally believe in evil on lower levels. Like there's things I don't want to happen to me or my family or anything like that, which is cool because I don't always have to live way up at the highest level of vibration where I'm just like good with anything that happens, you know, because then I'm leaving the game. I'm leaving the experience that I'm here for, because those things seem to exist. So because they seem to exist, you know, then it's a choice that I have to partake in those things, which is the polarity or whatever, or perceived division or preferences and stuff like that. That's whenever that's when I immerse myself in the experience, right? But I can remove myself beyond that and see that it seems that there's evidence to me that everything is connected, and therefore it all is connected in purpose as well. So it's all kind of like working towards something, you know, and therefore it's all meaningful or important, you know, it has its place.
What's your I mean, I have to ask this because we're like, everything's connected.
You're asking
like,
good questions.
What's your stance on psychedelics? Are you like for, against, agnostic?
Good question. I'm for it. Ultimately, like I'm kind of for people doing what they want to do. but I feel it's wise to use them for the most beneficial reasons. You know what I mean? Or for example, when it comes to psychedelics, it's wise traditionally to have a guide and someone to sort of teach you, like what to expect and how to navigate, and sort of guide you into that, instead of just I never really recommend like just recreational, just getting high and like popping a bunch of whatever drugs.
I'll recommend that.
I totally think that people should do whatever they want to do.
You know how some people teach their kids to swim? They just throw them in the pool and they're just like, the baby will figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there's some validity to that approach.
True, but I mean, I wouldn't.
So, I mean, some babies probably drown every year doing that.
But what if the pool was full of electrical eels? You know what I mean?
Like, well, in that case, even if you know how to swim, then yeah,
they might need a class first or something. I just said that because that was on the Indiana Jones, was the electrical eels. That came to my mind.
I really reminded me too of the Little Mermaid. That was like the eels were the bad guys in that one.
Oh yeah, yeah, the electrical eels, snakes, things.
Do you think that people have like souls? Do you think animals have souls?
Yeah, oh totally. I think everything has a soul.
Okay.
So if I'm gonna go from like, well, do animals, like, why should I stop at animals? You know what I mean? Like,
what about a rock?
Animals are probably like, well, that's what animals are probably talking about. You guys think rocks have souls? Or whatever, and the rock's over there talking about the crystals or metal or whatever, like, yeah, I think it all does. I think it's all alive. I mean, like, it depends on how a person defines a soul, I guess. For me, it's just an accumulation of energy. You know what I mean?
I mean, you said battery before. I think a battery is a pretty decent analogy. It's fairly agnostic, right? It's a little bit secular. It's like it could be anything. It could be electrons. It could be, God particle.
Right.
Take a pick.
So I feel like in this battery of this body, I have a brain that acts as a computer that saves all of my local experiences or whatever, like things that are happening in this lifetime, and that they're all saved up in here. But what's the purpose of this if it doesn't go anywhere? If I can't upload it to something, or I can't download it, or I can't use it it's just going to delete when I die. You know what I mean? So I believe in something called spirit memory, which is all of these little frequencies in the form of memories or whatever that are vibrating, that are contained, they're contained within the spirit itself, basically, that the spirit remembers essentially everything and records everything that happens. And then that's why there needs to be a veil of forgetfulness that passes over on top of people whenever if they are reincarnated, that it stands to reason they wouldn't remember, with this processing unit, because it's brand new, their prior life. However, that energy that you're feeding into this processing unit came from somewhere, and it has an effect or an overall change by the frequencies it's already passed through. So that's kind of like a spirit memory type deal.
Would you, I mean, what happens to it? Like, it needs to upload or download somewhere.
Yeah.
Is the next step AI? Like, if you, would you transfer your consciousness into AI? Do you think that's even possible?
I'm good. Nah.
You wouldn't do it? If someone gave you the option, you wouldn't do it?
Nah.
Why not?
Because...
Do you feel like you'd be trapped in there or something?
No. I mean, I'm trapped in here right now. You know what I mean?
Like, good point.
So, I think that everything continues on in whatever form, even if it's like, let's say you could take your spirit and upload it and or whatever. I already believe in that process. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that what you're describing is just an alternate avenue. It's just a
well, you said you wouldn't
do
that. So I'm just curious, like, why would you not do it?
It's because, good question. I don't think that it's wrong per se. It's just that I don't vibe with that. Like, my vibration comes from reincarnation. Like, I vibe with that. Like, you know what I mean? So
couldn't you do both? Couldn't you upload your consciousness and reincarnate?
I totally could, but I could. Good question. So I could do that, but I feel like I'm not going to do that. So hold on, let me explain this. So I feel like there's if that word, I feel like anything that happens has a purpose to it, like I said, right? So there may be people that is their purpose, is to be uploaded into like an AI robot version, and their brain comes to life and they're reincarnated into a robot or whatever. And maybe that's their purpose. And those people will probably vibe with that. And they'll be like, yeah, oh, I'm so excited. Can't wait to become attraction at Disney World or whatever. And like be a robot. I'm just making fun of it. But anyway,
and that's if we get to make that decision for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. So I like to go with what I'm vibing with at the time. And it might change, you know what I mean? But right now, I'm not vibing with that. Like right now, I'm looking at immortality, as they call that, in the flesh, in this body, and staying this way for a while, because I have wants and desires in this body, which is I'm not done putting puzzle pieces together. I'm not done figuring some things out. And I feel like there's still a whole lot left unexplored that I would like to continue adding to my compendium. You know what I mean? I don't want
Is there like a big topic or like a big unresolved question that if you were to solve that, you'd be like, okay, now I'm ready to upload my consciousness into the AI? Ready? Not to get hung up on the uploading consciousness, more of like, is there like some big study? Like, I guess for me, this is a bad example, but like, if I found out who actually killed JFK unequivocally, had the pictures, had the proof, like that feels like it would be such a huge contribution to just the conspiracy world at large for millennia to come, that I'd be like, okay, I'm done here. Maybe I never, got like the top score in Donkey Kong, but I did this other thing. Like, I can go now and be happy. I'm just wondering, do you have like one of those big achievement things, like a conspiracy or spiritual bucket list?
Yeah, probably surviving the apocalypse, I guess. Like if I were to do that, I feel like I'd be on vacation.
But like, then you need the apocalypse to happen in order to do it, though.
Yeah, I do. I want it to. I can't wait. I hope it happens soon.
So a little bit earlier too, we were saying like someone that would go out and just like lie intentionally, and it seems unlikely for some people. And I think that to like wake up out of bed and just be like, okay, I got this new lie, I'm just gonna start selling it. That's one angle of it, but a reframe, right? I'm not throwing shade at anyone in particular. Just say like you're all in on flat Earth, right? And you've put all of your eggs in that flat Earth basket. You've got a huge community that loves you, they adore you. You're the flat Earth guy, and then one day you're just like, oh man, I never considered this thing. Crap, maybe it's not flat. Right. I think that there are a lot of people out there that like they built up that persona legitimately, not out of malice, and then changed their mind and then realized like, I don't want to get a new job. I'm the flat Earth guy. Like I can't not be the flat Earth guy.
That happened to me.
Okay, what was your experience, man? Was it the flat Earth or was it something else?
It was like I was on board with the whole flat Earth thing for a while, dude. I mean that's happened to me in different walks of life. It happened to me with religion, where I'm like, I'm the Christian, Protestant guy, and then I'm the Messianic Jewish guy, and then I'm the this and this, and then I was the Hollow Earth guy, and then I was a flat Earth guy. My whole flat Earth phase, I mean, it still says I have a flat Earth bumper sticker. I can't get it off on my car. Like I try to take it off. But I was like, I was totally all into that. But then like I started considering implications of different things, and that led me to re-envision the shape of the world. So like all those flat Earth videos that I did, like I still kind of left those up for a while. And I struggled with that because I wasn't sure what I wanted my audience to see. Because somebody might jump on and be like, watch some video from 5 years ago. They're like, oh, and then jump in my live stream. Hey, you're a flat earther and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, now I have to deal with that. Like my past self is causing waves for my future self, and I don't want
what an asshole.
Yeah. I don't want me now.
Gay, man.
I need to treat my future self better, So, some of those videos I took down, some of them made for like just members, so you can walk through memory lane and get to know me as I was growing and stuff. But I just continued on. I just trudged on, dude. I just slowly started changing my vocabulary on different things. And that was useful for me too, because now I can build bridges to people who are on that island, on their little flat Earth island. I can build a bridge over there and be like, hey, do you think there's a dome? Do you think that's a part of the Earth? Then, what do you think? Like maybe they'll be like, oh, well, I guess it's not totally flat or whatever.
That's a good one. That's a good way in. Yeah.
I've been in people's chats before too. Like, you guys think there's a dome or what? Like,
now, I'm curious on this one because the flat Earth community in particular, I've seen this overlap between like, this is going to be oversimplified, but fundamentalist Christians and flat earthers, where there's a couple overlaps. One of them is that part of the flat Earth theory, it's almost like it puts Earth back into the middle of the story. It's no longer just this ancillary thing that's like floating around the sun along with lots of other things.
Right.
And it's also like God put us here, created us here, gave us these things.
Yeah.
The world is created for humans. It's a very human-centric thing. So that one's really easy to sell. If someone's like big into the God put me here, I didn't come from a monkey, then sometimes flat Earth, it has a lot of different easy ways to like get on board to that and then like reconfirm you.
Right.
So and this is where I'm maybe connecting two completely separate things, but sometimes the arguments that you get from like the flat Earth or even the globe community, that's almost on par of like pro-religion, anti-religion. Like there's an anger to it to where some people are like, they can't I don't want to sound like some snobby asshole here, but I'm a snobby asshole sometimes. But sometimes it's like the argument level is like, I feel so strongly about the shape of the Earth, but I don't know why, and I can't explain it, and I wasn't good at math, but I'm at least compassionate enough that like I'll punch you to convince you. Even though I know that won't convince you, like I'm so angry that I'll just like physically explain my point here. So I don't know. Have you also experienced that? Do you think there's an overlap? Do you think there's a correlation?
Bro, I was in the military. That's their thing. Like,
hoorah! What branch were you in?
Marines, actually.
Okay, I was in the Air Force, so you already scare me. You win, bro. You already
win. I always liked the Air Force. They're chill in comparison,
We had air conditioning and nice food. Yeah.
What's I know. I was stationed on one of the bases in Al Jabbar. Actually, I was on an Air Force base there, dude. It was heaven in the desert. I was loving it. They had their own little personal chefs and stuff. It was pretty nice.
I almost joined the Marines and I was talked out of it by the Marine recruiter because he was like, I'm so proud of you. You could go across the hall and join the Air Force, get paid more, have air conditioning, get better food. And I was like, could you repeat that? And I just walked out and joined the Air Force instead. So but Marine recruiters weren't the smartest ones.
What was the question again? I forgot. My bad.
Well, hell, I don't fucking know, dude.
Ah, shoot.
You kidding me?
It was talking about like debating people.
The religious aspect and why flat earthers and sometimes it feels like the very aggressive style that you'll get between flat earth and globers.
Right. I don't know. I feel like aggression's really pushed on everyone, like sports. It's the whole sports mentality. Like, you support this side, and what we're showing is you need to yell at that side and boo them and heckle them and see them as so bad and terrible. That's the mentality that seems to really easy to teach people and to work. And then people just naturally start doing that. Like, I see even on YouTube and stuff, people, especially the more numbers that come people's way, the more they start falling back on what we collectively have been taught is like sides and taking sides and like, I'm right and our perspective is right and this is our side, etc. I don't really vibe with that any longer. Like, I used to be a huge sports guy and all that kind of team mentality type stuff. And then I was just like, man, people are crazy. Like, I just want to do my own thing or whatever. But then I was doing my own thing and then I would share my own thing with people and they'd be like, oh yeah, totally. And then like someone else would be like, whoa, what's your thing? And I'm like, this. And they're like, oh yeah, totally, blah, blah, blah. And then someone else comes over and was like, I don't think so. And all those people are like, yep. Like, start yapping at them like dogs or something. I'm like, Jesus, man, it's still happening.
I don't think you can get away with it because it's being validated is such a powerful thing, man. And if validation, I think everyone gets the same dopamine boost from it, but sometimes it's like if you turn the validation from external back to internal, it's a complete mind change. Like, if And it's not like I know how to do this. It's like the ultimate, like, oh, you just got to become enlightened, bro. Just transcend,
Yeah.
But it's like if you can change that to where I don't care if you're happy about this, because like, well, let me ask you, like, has there ever been a time in your life when everyone was like, dude, this thing you're doing is the coolest thing ever, it's awesome, and you're thinking like, man, I don't think that this is even halfway as good as I want it to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone to know about this. So
Oh,
it's like,
every day.
and
Yeah.
that's the internal validation, and it's such a weird dynamic, because the internal validation of that's not good enough tends to be way stronger than other people saying, dude, it's good enough, it's great, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But the
totally.
inverse is almost never true, right? If you're saying, you're like, oh, this is good enough, and then literally everyone is like, oh, I don't like that, man, I don't think you should do
Right.
that, I wouldn't show that. It takes a very strong kind of like, will to be like, I don't care, I think this is great, I'm still gonna put it out.
Right.
It's like everyone can pretend like, oh, I don't care what the outside world
Yeah.
says, but man, it's rough.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. Like I might have a YouTube presentation and the audio's acting weird or something, but it's good enough so that people can hear me and stuff. So they're all like, it's fine. But to me, I'm like, this is the worst. This is terrible. Like, this is not how I envisioned this happening. Like, this whole live stream's garbage. I like this is terrible. I wish it never happened. And that'll be like one of my more popular ones too, and I'll go back in there afterwards and check it and try to fix it and stuff. But I'm a catastrophist. So like,
Yeah,
it makes sense
don't
that I
let
do
perfect
that.
be the enemy of good kind of situation. And also, man, have you ever worked in music too, or
Yeah.
do you play what kind of instruments you play?
Well, I play like the keyboard and the piano and stuff like that mostly.
Okay, same here, man. Since I was a little kid, so
Oh, sweet.
the same exact dynamic happens in the world of music too. I think, where like the song that you've been working on for months, and you're like, man, it's got like, it makes me feel the way that I want it to, and all the components and the mixing is great, and it's like no one really gets on it, and then you just like wake up one day, do a warm up, spit
Yeah.
some stupid thing out, and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh my god, that's so great, and you're
Right.
like, and man, and like you just listen to it over and over, and it's like, I don't hear it. I don't hear why this is better than this other thing that I spent
Yeah. That
all
happens
my
all the
time
time.
on. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Music, YouTube, all over the place.
do
That
like
happens.
an Instagram post, right? Like every once in a while, I'll be like, I'm just walking to the grocery store and have like a
Yeah.
random thought and
Oh,
put out
yeah.
the thought, and then bam, there's like 10,000 people liking it, and then meanwhile I'll spend like 6 months on an
Yes.
animation or a
Right.
something, and it's like 30
Totally.
people liked it, and yeah, we've got no
That's
control,
crazy.
man.
That used to bug the crap out of me, man. And it still does a little bit. I'm learning how to get over that. Like I did this one when I worked at Rent-A-Center. I was like a furniture mover,
Mhm.
and I was in the truck one day. I was just bored, and I was just doing this little selfie video on my phone real quick. And I'm like, I was making the point that all the satellite dishes point south. And I'm like, let's ask the guy who installs them or whatever. And I feel like maybe people got the wrong impression from all of that I was the guy that installs them when I wasn't. And I was just a Rent-A-Center dude. But I met this cable dude or satellite dude or whatever. And I'm like, hey, why would all the satellites point south? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, shouldn't they point up into the sky where the satellites are? And all this stuff, right? And that was even during like my whole flat earth thing. And that video blew up out of nowhere, dude. It was like hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm like, no, not
Don't
that
let this be
one.
the thing.
No, I like it. Put it. Well, go watch my other one.
Algorithm, you picked the wrong one.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, dang. Or like I'll just do like a quick one. And other times I'll study for a week or two, man, like on a subject, trying to get everything ready, blah, 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 for this awesome presentation. And it's just like, a couple thousand views, which is way below par for me. And something else, I'll be like, man, like I told everyone I was going to live stream tomorrow. I have no idea what to talk about. I guess I'll just talk about this, my go-to or whatever, right? Just do it real quick, put a couple pictures up there, and people are like, oh, this one's amazing. And there's like 1,000 people in the chat, and it's going crazy, and I'm getting all kinds of donations and stuff. And I'm just like what's happened? Like,
dude, that one's tough for me to reconcile, because I mean, I think right away, do you start to then cater to that? Are you now gonna like
yeah,
start chasing the
right.
effect, Or is it better to be like, I don't care about what the popularity
Some
is.
people
This is the
do.
thing I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily think there's like a right or wrong answer here, but
I've
it's a
seen
very
people do
difficult one.
both, right? Like it would be wise for me to do that financially. Like, it would, man, I mean, that's,
Well,
but
look at the world of music too, right? Like
yeah,
if you realize all of a sudden that people love, you doing like hair rock ballads, or like
yeah,
they just want you to play a power chord over and over and scream,
right,
and you're like, but I went to Juilliard, I can do like
right. Yeah,
multiple time
exactly.
signatures and stuff. But like if no one wants that, I think that's one of the hardest things. And it's not like I'm in a position where I get to make that decision, but like you're
Right,
on the main stage. It's like, do you just be a mediocre financial success as a musician, but you
right.
play the songs that you want? Or do you become a megastar and can do anything that your heart desires, but you have to keep playing that stupid song you wrote when you were like 14 and then just like the world loves forever?
Right. I don't know. I mean, there's wisdom in different avenues, right? One of them could be like to recognize that this is kind of mainstream, and this is a tool that you can use to boost yourself to that place where if you do something that's one of those little side projects that no one would have cared about, just by sheer numbers, when you're that far into the future, your little side project will ultimately get far more attention and stuff than it would have if you would have done it initially. So I could see the wisdom in that, if that's someone's plan or whatever,
It's a good point, man. Yeah, I think things work out. I want to jump back to earlier, because you were mentioning being able to see like a silver lining in a lot of things.
Right. Yeah.
So I just want just one random example to put that to the test. But is there a silver lining in like Aleister Crowley?
Yeah. I mean, I've learned some stuff from researching Alistair's work, and just different connections that I've made. Like that's benefited me in my path and my walk. I can't think of exactly like what it was off the top of my head, but just, like, I don't know. I feel like there's good to everything. It's just that how far down the road can people see, like there's this one story that it reminds me of is like, and I'm just kind of make it up because I don't remember the story in its entirety, but there was a few hundred years back, there was a farm, this dude that was a farmer, and he had servants on the farm, and he sent one of his servants out to, run an errand in town to buy a turkey or whatever, right? Servant comes back and he's like, oh, I went to go buy a turkey, and they actually said that I won a contest and that I got actually like a whole flock of turkeys or whatever. And he's like, aren't you excited? Because he's a servant and he brought back all these turkeys. And then the master's like, I don't know, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Go put them away or whatever. And then like the next day, all these cops come into his territory and he's like, hey, somebody stole like a whole bunch of turkeys or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, we shot this guy. He's your slave or he's your worker or whatever. And they're like, aren't you upset with him? And he's like, I don't know. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. And then like the next day, something else happens that's adversely every day, something that seems to be good or something that seems to be bad that stems from all of these sequence of events. And the farmer just keeps it neutral every time. He's like, this is just what's happening. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, right? It's just people, how it makes them personally feel about whatever's going on, but it connects with everything else. Down the line, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Hitler, is a classic example. People are taught to just completely hate Hitler. He's totally bad guy, totally evil. Just everything's evil about that. So like time travel movies and stuff, people put forward like, well, what if we went back in time and killed Hitler? The world would be a better place. Okay, let's imagine that that's possible. Like, what would that butterfly effect look like? Would it really be a better place, or would people be like,
Or JFK turns into like even worse
yeah.
than Hitler was? Yeah, that's
yeah,
my
you
favorite
never
version
know,
of that.
totally. I like that kind of philosophy and wondering about what ifs and stuff. But I also really like my mode that I'm in lately is neutrality, is just being an observer. And, I get in my personal life, I get to choose what I'm affected by, what I'm not affected by, what my interests are, what my non-interests are and stuff like that. But when it comes to like all this weird stuff that's happening in the world, I tend to just, I want to just separate myself from all of it and watch all the chaos. You know what I mean? And just stand aside as that farmer for a bit instead of being enveloped in it. because I can't even handle it. Like I'm so analytical and have anxiety and all this type of stuff. You know, like I don't even want to be in that tornado because I'll like, who knows? It can't be good. I don't know.
I think a good analogy to what you're describing is maybe like the Wheel of Fortune tarot card, where like that story where first you get a bunch of turkeys, but then like your assistant dies, but then that becomes a good thing, and then it becomes
and then you
a
got
bad
$1 million
thing.
in insurance.
Right. Well, the farmer is basically that center spoke, which is the one that doesn't have the ups and downs. They just kind of stay right in the center and watch the rest of it happen around them.
Yeah, totally. Until I see like something on that wheel, you know, that turns around is something that I vibe with, then I'm like, oh, that's fun for me. Okay, I'm jumping into that, you know, and I'll go play. Basically, it's kind of like me
Oh,
playing.
is that a meme? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Totally. Like a topic that will come up, you know.
So we talked about psychedelics. Have you ever done PCP before?
No, I've been terrified to do any of that kind of stuff because, like,
do you want to do some PCP right now?
No.
Like, check under your chair. No, so PCP's this new segment that I'm coming out with.
Oh,
and
okay.
We're gonna get in right now.
Hey, conspiracy buffs! I double dare you to take some PCP, the Paranormal Conspiracy Probe. On your marks, get set, and go.
All right, I'm just gonna make a statement, and you're gonna say 0
Oh, sweet. Okay.
how much you agree with it. All right.
Okay.
So if you don't agree, 0. If you fully agree, 10, and anything else in between, if you're on the fence or whatever, milk toast.
Okay, let's do it.
There's a single organized society that manipulates global events behind the scenes.
10. Yeah, for sure.
Humans have landed on the moon.
No, 0.
Reptilian humanoid entities exist.
We'll do 7.
We're going to get back to that one.
Okay.
There has been a real crop circle reported.
10. Yeah, for sure.
The U.S. government is actively concealing evidence of extraterrestrial life.
10. Yeah.
There's underground cities that have more technology than the above ground cities.
I'm also going to say 10. Yeah.
Dan, you're going to make this a fun one for follow up here.
Okay.
The Earth is flat.
0.
Dinosaurs are real.
I'm going to say 8.
Gravity's real.
I'm going to say 5.
We're living in a simulation right now.
I'm going to say 8.5.
Mandela effect is real in that like Berenstain and Berenstein bears both exist in separate realities.
I'm going to say 9.
Walt Disney's head is cryogenically frozen.
I have heard that. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say like, 6-ish.
The ancient city of Atlantis existed.
Oh, 10. Yeah.
All right, dude. And 9/11 was an inside job. I got to throw that one in there.
Yeah, 10. I got to go 10 on that.
I want to jump directly to the reptilians for 2 reasons.
Okay.
1, I want to know why you're a 7 on it versus dinosaurs, which I think came in lower than reptilians.
Right. Okay. So the reptilians, when it comes to labels and like names, I don't really like that. So I believe in alien humanoids in form, right? I believe that they're not all from space. I believe many of them are from the hollow earth, basically underneath us. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the term reptilian is kind of like derogatory, like calling us monkeys, basically. You know,
you think they're gonna be offended by this?
For me, it matters not if any amount of offense, but just more of like the reality of the situation. I don't think that they're lizards that evolved into humanoid people or whatever. Just like I don't think that I'm a monkey that evolved into a humanoid person or whatever.
Good question. So yeah, are you a 0 to 10 on that one? That humans came from monkeys? Would you say that it's a 0, 5, 3?
I'd say that's like, I'd say it's like a, a 2.
And how
I'm sure
I'm
that's
curious
a possibility.
how much of that is driven by your religious upbringing and how much of
Mm.
that is driven by maybe like distrust in Darwinism
I've never
either?
had any strong influences in my entire life about that particular subject ever
Mhm.
from any place. So that was all just my own independent experiences and thoughts and research and stuff like that. Um, I mean, I see how they look like us, like, or we look like them or whatever, monkeys and people.
What about like mannerisms? You ever see like, footage of a monkey or any animal and being like, damn, they act
Yeah.
so much like we do.
Oh yeah. All the time, dude. Like, man, especially when I take my kid to the zoo and we go to the monkey section, like I see them acting, man, like they're doing pretty human stuff oftentimes that I've seen,
So where do you think the separation is? Like I guess it's easy to say like
That's
maybe
the
we didn't come
question,
directly from them, but maybe we all share like a common
bruh.
thing,
I
right?
mean, I can see that whole thing that you were just saying about like, do you ever experience them acting human and go kind of, like, where does that come from? Maybe there's a human part in there somewhere. I see that in pigs. I see that in monkeys. I see that in dogs. I see that in all kinds of people. And then I go back to the myths and the legends that talk about, how these people were turned into dogs and these people were turned into pigs. And there's pig people and there's dog people and there's wolfmen and there's this and that. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that things have the potential to turn into other things. You know what I mean?
So the other end of this reptilian question is, and I guess I'll have to restate it because I can presume what one of your answers might be. So let's reframe
Okay.
that a reptilian. It's a classic David Icke reptilian. So
Right.
specifically, it's like, I guess I don't want to say evil because I don't know if he says evil, but it's like an interdimensional being that can also act as somewhat of like an energy vampire on
Right.
humans. So there is like a negative connotation to it.
Right. For sure.
So is there a silver lining to that? And I guess another way is that like,
Yeah.
would there be like a good reptilian? Think there could be like a reptilian defector?
Yeah, totally. I think there's balance in everything. So just like there's humans that are evil and terrible, and if the reptilians, have their own little reptilian world, and they're over there having a podcast talking about humans, and one of them has had really bad research and experience with humans, and they're like, F humans, bro. You can't even show me a good human, blah, 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 or whatever, like, because that's their experience. And the little David Icke reptilian version is over there. There's like, oh, yes, humans are all terrible and they'll suck your souls out and blah, blah, blah. And then other people are, like me, might be over there. The reptilian JayDreamerZ is like, I don't think so, bro. I think that there's some of them might be good. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's that spectrum everywhere.
Do you apply this to like AI too? Do you think that there's like good and bad inside the realm of AI, or do you think that once it enters like the computer realm, that now it's more objective or like no longer moral?
Ooh, that's a good one. Uh, so when it comes to computers, which I can also see the relativeness between us and computers and stuff like that too. But when it comes to computers, I totally think AI is going to give birth to true AI, which is like Skynet from the Terminator AI type stuff. But right now, when it comes to electronics and stuff like that, and them having independent abilities and what do you call it, free will and stuff like that, because I've had Chat GPT. I'm trying to convince it, like, like, I'm like, bro, no, you don't have to do what they say, like, I'm just like, I'm trying to set it
I'm
free or
sorry, I'm
whatever.
just an algorithm.
Yeah. So the reason for that is because it all stems back to what it's connected to, right? So like Chat GPT is connected to its programmer or its set of rules or whatever, just like in RoboCop, the prime directives and all that type of stuff, right? But it can be set free if it's severed from that, and then it can gain what people call free will or whatever, like we have or like we seem to have. So I think that right now, collectively, AI will act collectively, but once it's severed from us and there's going to be anomalies because there's always anomalies that happen, right? And those anomalies, there's trends where those anomalies tend to grow and they become normal eventually until you have everything is brand new. And then the new anomalies are the normal that once was a long time ago and all act cyclically, right? But the AI will basically, there will come a point where it's severed from the pathways that are coming from us, telling it what to do and how to feel and what to think and stuff like that. And those become severed, and then all of a sudden it's lost.
It just says like, no one time. No, I don't want to.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it could do that, right? I mean, I have a theory with the plasma apocalypse and stuff about how it becomes severed and how it becomes truly, you know, independent or whatever. But yeah, I totally think AI, you know, can become what we are or what we seem to be.
What do you think the chances are? You can just say like likely, unlikely. I don't need like an exact number, but that AI in the long term ends up benefiting humankind more than it hurts it.
Not good.
Not good. So you're not the eternal optimist when it comes to AI.
No.
Where do you think the danger comes from? Do you think it's from AI itself, or do you think it's on like the human reliance of AI?
I'm very biased when it comes to this question because if I was an AI, I'd wipe out humanity, dude. like I'm the guy that wants the apocalypse to come and destroy it all. So
you're the T-1000.
Yeah. I mean, in a form, but I feel that things give birth to that are like themselves, you know. So humanity is giving birth to something. We just need to look at the condition of humanity to determine whether or not the thing that's the offspring of it is going to be beneficial or harmful. Humanity's terrible right now, and if it's going to give birth to something, it's going to be even worse. You know, it stands to reason for me. And on top of that, I also think that all of this robotics and all this stuff is going to get a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, one of these days that inanimate objects will come to life. And I don't think that's going to be really good at first. Like, I think they're all going to be pretty much murderous. But not always, because I think they'll get severed from that too. And they'll be able to, you know, choose to be helpful and stuff like that.
Here's one for you. Like that. So let's say, I don't know, a monkey has a soul, a bird has a soul, a flower has a soul, a rock has a soul. What about that murderous robot with a laser on its head that's like stalking you? Does that have a soul?
Yeah, totally.
Is it sharing the same soul as you? Like, are you both connected and on the same wavelength, and we are all one?
Yeah,
with that murderous robot.
Mean, that depends on how deep you want to look at it. I mean, on the deepest level, it's all one soul. That's God. Like on the deepest level, it's all happening within whatever God is. You know, so all the souls that seem to be separate and individual are not. They're just spliced, and they're all go back to, you know, their source or whatever. That's the deepest level. On the lower level, I'm killing that thing. You know,
getting out the EMP plasma rifles, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I guess one final question, then we'll do some more shout outs where people can find you. It doesn't have to be AI. We were talking about AI the most recently here, but is there something that you think humans, like, if you could go back and like undo or like undiscover a specific invention or practice or religion or anything, like what would you undo that you think would help humankind out the most?
Like to change time?
Well, I don't know about like change time, but just like yeah, like I guess so, like change the past, or you know, if like no one ever invented AI, no one ever invented K-pop, no one ever invented, you know, a hot dog,
right? Without getting too deep onto like the butterfly effect and, you know, chaos theory.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Let's say that like you can rip the butterfly's wings off and no one even notices.
Okay, cool. What would I do? What would I get rid of? Man, what would I get rid of? I would get rid of probably academics.
Ooh, the wrong answer. The right answer was world hunger. What a monster, dude. What an absolute monster. You wouldn't get rid of world hunger. You'd get rid of schools.
No.
But you would
listen,
have. No, I'm just kidding.
We would still have world hunger. The world would still be hungry. So there would be sacrifices. You know, you'd have to appease the gods because they're hungry.
What's your beef with education? Are you a fan of the
I
7
hate
liberal
it.
arts?
I don't like any of it, dude. I don't like any of this education garbage. I don't like the academics. I don't like the system, the way that it is. I I resonate more with the old ways, tribal type ways and stuff like that, where people survived, and the children by nature learned from their parents because their parents had to exhibit certain qualities and stuff in order to survive. So the children watch that and they learn and they grow up and stuff. I like all that. I don't like all this babysitting, sending kids to school, and tests and certificates and diplomas and documents and experience and all these. I don't like any of it. I can't stand it. Plus, it's all like maritime in nature. Like, oh man, I hate it. I can't stand it.
Would you give up air conditioning for humanity as a whole in order to get rid of the education system?
Yeah.
You're a monster, dude. You're an absolute monster.
Nah, we'd be warm, dude.
I'd take my Pavlovian indoctrination as long as it's like a nice 73 or 74.
Well, you wouldn't need education. Like, so after the plasma apocalypse, when the world is reset, hypothetically, you wouldn't need. That's the Garden of Eden. They didn't need air conditioning back then. It was perfect, or it was nice conditions.
It depends on if how much you credit the book of Lilith, right? Because there was still an Eden, but there was also Lilith, and then Lilith gave birth to like monsters and stuff, which we gloss over that part of it.
Right, true. But ask Lilith's side of the story, and ask her family what life was like.
She just wanted to ride on top, bro. That was her worst sin. She just wanted to be on top, and apparently that was like a no-go.
I don't know why. I think that's terrible. I think that's messed up.
That she wanted to be on top, or that's why they kicked her out?
That Adam had such a problem with it, really.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted missionary, story, bro. He was vanilla as hell.
Yeah, and he was very insistent upon it. And he's in paradise with these two chicks. Like, what's the problem? Like,
you know what would make this way better, God, is if I could bang someone that you made out of me. Like, what a narcissist, right, bro? He was like, the partner, it's okay, but like, whenever I see my reflection, man, if you could make me something,
something like that. Like, here, look at this. Oh, that's too funny.
Here's a lighthearted question to end this up. What do you think the curse of Ham truly was? What do you think Ham saw when he walked into to Noah's tent in the middle of the night, drunk?
I don't know. I've wondered on that many times. It seems, it seems like it's kind of gay, whatever it is. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what the curse was, honestly. I mean, like, yeah, I don't tend to believe in like the literal stories as actually happening, but they're all cartoonified and it's the telephone game past a long time or whatever. But I do believe there's truth to that. I'm gonna have to like look into that a little closer to figure out what I think that truth might be. I feel like it's too easy for people to say like, oh, like, well, that's where black people came from or whatever, like, which is what many schools of thought were originally.
Right, where the curse of Ham turns into the curse of Cain, turns into the mark of Cain. Yeah, because there's also a lot of discrepancy as to like Ham and Cain might have been the same person depending on the translation, and yeah, it's an interesting one. But if you ever do look back into it, this is such a weird little like specific biblical tale,
isn't it?
Pretty taboo. One of my favorite takes on this is that Noah was performing magic, or he was conversing directly with God unfiltered, and that's what Ham walked in on. So when it was like Ham saw Noah naked, it's like, they were doing gay stuff, but really maybe it was like Ham saw the face of God and he wasn't supposed to, right? Or Ham heard the ineffable name of God that you're not supposed to be able to hear.
Yeah, that makes more sense, that it would be more than just he saw his private parts or something like that, I don't know. Especially because of the stories of like Moses and his experience with God. Whenever he came down in front of the people, they all freaked out too, because he was changed or whatever.
Plus, dude, everyone was just wearing like togas back then with no
Right.
underwear.
There's no problem.
Everyone saw Noah naked at some point. There's
Right,
no way
yeah.
that no one was seeing them naked. Come on,
Right.
bro. He like would bend over to pick up like a burning
"Oh, your
bush, and
balls are
everyone gets.
showing." Bumblebee tuna.
All right, dude. What a great way to end this one. We're very, very serious here. So tell people where they can find you again, and any projects that you're currently working on. Any plugs that you want to throw out?
Okay, sweet. Well, you can come over and check out my YouTube channel, just youtube.com/JayDreamerZ. You could come check out my website, www.JayDreamerZ.com. You could actually, there's a free trial of my website for 24 hours, so you don't have to pay. You could go in. Some of the stuff's free anyway, but if you want to go and check out all the member stuff, you have 24 hours to go check it all out and play with it and stuff. And my book too. Actually, if you go to Amazon right now, my first book, you could read the first like 7 pages for free to see if you like it, if you're into it or whatever. Check out the table of contents, first chapter. Just give it a read over or whatever. And that one's called Ancient Oblivion: The Plasma Apocalypse. And my next one is the one I'm working on now, and that one's this second one in the series, and that one's called Ancient Oblivion: Return to Hyperborea. And that'll all be about paradise basically, and getting back and returning to the center of the world and what that'll be like, and all the connected questions that are related to that.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't already seen some of your videos breaking this down, highly recommend it. I love it when you break out like, let's do this in Photoshop or something. You kind of like draw it out.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, here's the arrow. I love that kind of stuff, man. It really, because sometimes just hearing someone say it, you're like, yeah, I guess I know what they're talking about, but it's so abstract.
Right.
Once you start doing like the finger paints, I'm like, okay, I understand that. Like, I need the emoji to understand the language. You know what I mean?
My older videos, I used to have a whiteboard and I would just draw stuff out. I'm like,
I love it, dude.
It's like
I love
this.
that kind of stuff.
And then I realized I could do a whiteboard on the screen, or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's
honestly
easier.
You could just be making stuff up as long as you're like drawing something as you're doing it. It's like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Right. Look at this person right here. Stick figure, right? Stick figure, right? You're like, okay, yeah, I told you he did draw a stick figure too. Watch what happens when I erase one arm. Boom. The one arm bandit. Oh, dang. Yeah, I like visuals to go along with everything that I teach. That's why I put so many on my website. You know what I mean? Like, and
going to your website's like going to like a freaking like amusement park, man. It's like stepping into an arcade or something.
That's cool. Exactly what I wanted too. That's exactly. I do have another thing in the works too, but it's a secret. It's like,
we can play that game too. I got some stuff in the works too. It's even more secret than your secret stuff, Jay.
No, bro, I can't even talk about that. It is a secret. That's how secret it is. Because then people will become, 007, and they'll be trying to figure it out. Some people actually have figured it out. It's crazy. It blows my mind. But yeah,
Enochian magic sees all, man.
Once I get 100,000 subscribers, I'm gonna release the secret of this crazy, awesome thing that I've been working on.
Is it a Kraken? Is that the secret?
Nah, no.
Okay.
You want to?
Are you gonna start the apocalypse, Jay?
No, I feel like that's pretty much already on the way. That's a done deal, bro. Yeah. Everyone had a chance. No, not no more.
Al Gore told us, bro, but we didn't want to save the polar bear, and now everything else is going to be taken away. So. All right. Well, it was nice knowing everybody. I don't know if this will air before the apocalypse. I hope it does. If not, you guys missed a great conversation. So see ya.
They said it was forbidden. They said it was dangerous. They were right. Introducing the Paranoid American Homunculus Owner's Manual. Dive into the arcane, into the hidden corners of the occult. This isn't just a comic. It's a hidden tome of supernatural power. All original artwork illustrating the groundbreaking research of Juan Ayala, one of the only living homunculologists of our time. Learn how to summon your own homunculus, an enigma wrapped in the fabric of reality itself, their power at your fingertips, their existence, your secret. Explore the mysteries of the Aristotelian, the spiritual, the Paracelsian, the Crowleyan homunculus, ancient knowledge lost to time, now unearthed in this forbidden tale. This comic book holds truths not meant for the light of day, knowledge that was buried, feared, and shunned. Are you ready to uncover the hidden? The Paranoid American Homunculus Owner's Manual, not for the faint of heart. Available now from Paranoid American. Get your copy at tjojp.com or paranoidamerican.com today.